Hello everybody and welcome back. I know I'm wearing the same shirt as my previous video, but I'm recording this at the same time. Just ignore it. And in this video I got as well another interview, and this one is with Anne Mouse. When I was finding authors for my previous video, she contacted me, but she was a web novelist. I find that kind of interesting and kind of a topic that I wanted to deal separately from the previous questions. I wanted to make questions that go specifically for web novelists, and I will leave the link of Anna Mau's web novel below. So let's get to the interview.
Hi, I'm Mouse, and I'm the writer of the weekly web novel, The Melancholia Project. It takes place in a city that's kind of terrible. It's all broken and crumbling, and they've got no sky and no resources, and it's full of monsters called nightmares, and it's basically the real estate there is really cheap because nobody wants to live there. It mostly follows the story of a character named Zig and her adventures as a professional nightmare hunter and all the kinds of shenanigans that entails. There's all kinds of other ridiculous nonsense too. There's a big hole in the sky at some point. There's a lady floating around with no head. There's a guy who can make people into puppets. It's not a nice place to live. I wouldn't want to live there. But yeah, that's generally what it's about, her adventures and how she tries to eke out an existence and how she tries to help other people get their existences. Some people do better than others. And it updates every week, so you can check it out every Thursday. One of the questions I was asked was, where did the idea for Melancholia come from? So what happened was, years and years ago, my friend, who's now my editor, came to me and showed me a picture from Photo Bucket. A picture of a dude and a chick. And he said, I made the chick character. You gotta make the guy. Okay, because that's what people do. So I finally sat down and I made this character that would be able to interact with this character, and we built a little bit of a world, and we screwed around with it for a little while, and then we ignored it and moved on to the project. So, a little while ago, I was sitting thinking about words, because that's all I think about, and it came to me that, you know what, I haven't stopped thinking about this project in like 5 years. I should do something with it. So, I decided to. I went to him and I said, this idea is burning holes in my brain, and that little main character of yours doesn't shut up. So, with his help and his permission, I finally sat down to write all the nonsense we had created into a book, and also added a bunch of stuff that he didn't even know about. So yeah, neither of us really know what's happening. But it is a lot of fun. All it took was that one picture from a random place on the internet, and his insistence that I actually do something with myself, and here we are. Because Melancholia has been in incubation for so long, I find that I have so much stuff that I'm really excited to write about, so I don't normally have to go fishing for inspiration. I also find that most of writing isn't being inspired, it's sitting down to do the work. Being inspired rather, gets you through like the first paragraph, maybe the first half a page before you start to lose your steam. And that's just fine. Some people can blow it a couple pages before they lose it, but it always runs away. Eventually, you just have to make yourself sit down and put together all the pieces that you like, because even if you're not so fond of the things you're working on at the moment, eventually you get to another part that you're super excited for. All these things are parts of how you build a book. That's all normal. And hating parts of it a little bit are also kind of normal. That's what editing's for. Use your inspiration to get it onto the page, and then use your determination to make everybody else suffer with you to finish the book. Another thing I was asked to answer was, how do you deal with writer's block? Writer's block is something I hear a lot of my writer friends complaining about. I'm in a couple of writing groups on like Facebook and stuff, and people are always saying that they're stuck, it's the end of the world. And I'm sorry, but I don't get it. I don't usually get stuck. Normally what I do is I give myself a kind of little skeleton outline. So it'll give me, I write in arcs, so it's like a set of 10 chapters, and then for each chapter I have one sentence, maybe two, of what I have to fill in. That's plenty. That tells me where I need to go and what I need to cover, but it doesn't plan everything out to the point where I can't surprise myself. I find that once I have a direction, I don't get stuck. Last time I tried to freehand a novel, that's when I started getting stuck a lot, and I had to keep bothering people around me with, what next, and they're like, don't you know what's next? You're the author. No, I didn't have a plan. You might hate outlining, but it will be your best friend. It doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need to be complicated. You can stick, like 3 words down, just so you have the main point of what it is you need to cover. I like to stick dialogue tags, like little bits and pieces of stuff that are floating in my head in there to give me an idea. But that's enough. As long as you have a direction, you'll find yourself getting blocked a lot less. It's mostly just you being lost while you try and work this thing out of your brain. That's what happens. But having a plan can help. Okay, so why did I sit down and decide to make Melancholia into a web novel instead of a traditional novel? Most people decided to go the other route because that seems to be the trend, I guess. The problem was that Melancholia is actually suited more to a visual medium instead of, like words. But I don't pictures, I only words, so I used words to make the thing. This meant that it doesn't read quite like a normal book. It's shaped a little differently, it's not as linear. That's why I write it in arcs, and each of the 5 arcs come together to build the whole story like some kind of really strange cake. Writing it as a web novel not only keeps me consistently motivated because I have deadlines, but it also means that I can be a little looser with how I frame the story. I can use different devices than I would for a straight novel. It worked a little bit better for the kind of project I was going for, but it won't work for every story. So what kind of editing process do you use for a web novel? Normally I do the thing where I sit down and I bust out a whole chapter and then I let it sit for a little while and I read it over myself. I also have somebody who very kindly decided that they would edit for me, probably because they're partially responsible for the idea. I'm very happy to have their help. Beyond that, I also have a couple of betas. And some of these betas are just people who read it and like to complain about things. But that's okay too. The great thing about a web novel is I can do my best to fix it, hand it off to the editor who does their best to fix it, and then we stick it up, and if somebody complains about it, I know where to find it and I can fix it right then. I had a scenario where I accidentally misspelled the character's name and totally didn't see it after like 3 revisions, and somebody pointed it out to me. And it was hilarious, but it was good that I could go in and just tidy it up. I find that sometimes the only thing that will fix stuff is another set of eyes. I've gotten back a print copy of another novel that I've done, and it was still full of errors. Just because I tried to edit it on a screen and not in my hand, and I hadn't looked at it in months when I got the print copy. Probably going to happen to me forever, and I'm pretty okay with that. But web novels are great. I can just hop back in and fix the problem whenever I see it, and that's definitely an advantage that I like to this type of writing. I haven't been doing much advertising, to be completely honest. Mostly what I rely on is word of mouth. The people who tend to like it tend to tell their friends. And I mean, I'm the kind of person who, when I like something, I like to get all my friends obsessed with it. So I like when people come up to me and went, "Hey, my friend loves this and made me read the whole thing and now I'm hooked." And I'm like, yay! I like it. I like when that happens to other people. I do have other social media that I promote on. I promote a little bit on Facebook. I promote a little bit on Twitter. I have fancy business cards. I like business cards a lot, actually. They seem kind of strange for a writer to have, but they're really good for me to give to people when they have kind of an idea what they're looking for. Like I go, "Hey, I write. You want to look up some stuff? Here you go." I don't have to remember to send them anything. I don't got to get emails. They can look it up if they're interested. It works, and it means that there's less pressure on them. They can find it like, 6 months from now, and it'll still work. The website will still be there. But yeah, word of mouth seems to be my favorite one so far. I keep finding people who tell me that, "Hey, this so-and-so directs them to the website," or now they're following me on Twitter. And it's great. I like to talk to everybody. Okay, so what do you do with a web novel when it's finished? Well, it is going to be finished at the end of August. The very last week of August is going to be the end of the updates for this particular project. After that, I'm going to edit it, stick it out for print. Or for ebook download if that's your jam. After that, I do have plans to traditionally publish 2 other books, at least. I have plans for 2 others right now. And those will be lobbied toward traditional publishers and hopefully go the usual way where you can find them in an actual bookstore. So we'll see how that works. They're both low fantasy adventure. It should be a lot of fun. I actually get to write about a place with interesting setting instead of, Melancholy where everything is gray and full of broken glass and covered in blood, which is actually pretty interesting, so I'm gonna take that back. But it will be a change of scene for me, and that'll be really nice. It'll be my first adventure with traditional publishing, and that'll be an experience in itself. But yeah, that's the plan. After Melancholia wraps and starts going on sale, hopefully in October, I'll have 2 books lined up to hopefully go to traditional publishers.
So I hope you enjoyed this short interview. I hope you learned something about web novels, and I'm gonna leave Anne-Miles' web novel below, the link, so you can go check it out, read it, and give her all the support you can give, because I read kind of the beginning of the web novel and it had a very interesting concept that I really like. But I don't like reading from my computer because my eyes get dry and reading from my computer is painful. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to hit the like button below, to subscribe if you want to see more, and you're gonna see me in the next chapter with more videos. So for now, goodbye.